Buenas and half a day. I'm Lieutenant Tim Gorman, the Joint Region Marianas Public Affairs Officer, and today we're taking you all the way down south to the village of Umatac. In Umatac there once stood 4 Spanish colonial forts, the last of which is Fort Soledad here in Umatac Bay. Come join me and we'll see what it's all about. With us is Professor Omaira Brunel Perry from the Micronesian Area Research Center at the University of Guam. Welcome, ma'am. So glad you could join us this morning. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you for having me here.
Okay. Please tell me about your area of study at UOG. What is your area?
Well, my area of research interest is the Spanish colonial presence in Guam and Micronesia, starting from the arrival of Magellan up to the end of when the American administration came in 1898.
Okay. So was Magellan really the first explorer to come through this region?
Yes. That is the evidence in the documents. Magellan was the first explorer that came east-westbound, and he was approaching the island from the north side. Many scholars believe that he arrived perhaps in Tumon or those northern bays of the island, because the route he was carried was over the parallel 13. Yeah?
What do you think? Where did he first land?
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So some people believe that Umatac Bay was the first place he landed though, right?
Perhaps there's a little bit of confusion because when Miguel Lopez de Legazpi came in 1565, he arrived here in the Bay of Umatac because he was coming from the south part of the Pacific, and he was touching some of the islands of Micronesia. So that makes sense that he's in this point, and then he take northwest toward the Philippines.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us about Umatac Bay. What's significant about it? What would make it a good landing spot for a Spanish ship?
The bay is large enough for small boats to go all the way inland, and it's a river that tribute water right there, so it's easy for them to replenish the fresh water. The ships are anchored about 500 meters away from the.
Oh, okay.
From there.
That's a long way.
Only the small rowing boats were the one that came inside the bay and touched the land.
What can you tell us about Fort Soledad and its significance?
At the beginning, these islands were kind of abandoned, but in the mid-1700s, when international conflicts started, the war with France and the British, Spain becoming aware that these islands in the Marianas are very important strategically to defend the Philippines. So they start thinking about building some forts. The first fort they built here in Umatac was over that big rock you see over there, and they called that Fort Santo Angel. That was built around 1760. And they continue building more forts, batteries, and putting some cannons to defend the island. 1806 to 1812. We don't know exactly the year, but it could be in that span of years. Governor Parreño received orders to build something stronger than just a battery. This fort was built. So, and he described that the fort has a quarter for the soldiers. Here you see those ruins in the bottom.
Yes.
And the next room is a powder magazine.
Okay.
And ammunition. The sentry box was to watch when any of the enemy ships are coming, so they can prepare and defend the island. This was the last fort that was built.
Professor, thank you so much for your time. I learned a lot about the history of Fort Soledad. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
That's all we have today for Island History. Adios.
Adios.